We're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Christina Ortiz with Veterans in Politics. We're going to have 3 guests today, 2 of which is going to be calling from Northern Nevada. We're going to have Jenny Brekhus, hope I pronounced her name right, Reno City Councilwoman, and we're going to have Chris Carver, candidate for Carson City Mayor, and then we're going to have Rhiannon Gladney, who's a co-founder of You Lucky Puppy.
I was really thinking of the pop star.
You lucky puppy. You lucky dog. It's a puppy, not a dog. So it's
that's cool.
You have any quick rants, Jim?
Yeah, just real quick, because we want to get to our guests. It's not a rant. Before you got here, I just want to say thank you to Ricky Cheese. She gave us a very good compliment. She said over the last month that she's been coming in here and sitting in on our show from time to time, she said she's learned more about politics and the things that affect Nevada in that short while than in her entire career at Channel 13.
Get out of town!
No, that's what she said, because the format that we're given, that we're allowed, is so much different than on TV, because we're not up against hard commercial breaks and stuff like that, and so the candidates can't just filibuster and then know that the computer's just going to cut them off. So I thought that was a very good compliment from her, and I really appreciate it.
Well, a shout out to Miss Cheese.
She's so nice too. She is like one of the coolest ladies.
I know.
So
I like her hat.
Rants.
I like her hat.
Except for why the hell are there cones? Traffic cones.
I thought you only had one rant.
On Tenaya, there's damn traffic cones, and there's nothing around. There's just cones blocking off a lane.
For no reason.
Maybe we could ask the city councilwoman up in Reno about cones.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Yeah,
I'll let it go at that. But that pisses me off. No one's working or nothing. They cut down.
You know what? You know what pisses me off? Why can't you have a medical marijuana card and still have your right to bear arms and go buy a weapon? Why is that?
I mean, as long as you're not
high with a weapon, it's cool.
That's what I mean.
That's like drunk with a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? I don't understand. Like, if you're going to do that, then why even have medical cards to begin with?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the people that really need that medical marijuana, they're not going to get it because they don't want to lose their Second Amendment rights.
And I mean, why are we taking people's constitutional rights away? Isn't that why we have a constitution, to keep our rights?
I don't know. You voted for these people, Christina.
Yeah.
I did not vote for those people.
Christina's fault.
So, Christina, have any rants? Batman, Batwoman, Batgirl, whatever you're wearing there?
I'm wearing Batman, and I matched my 4-year-old today.
Oh,
5-year-old.
cool.
5-year-old.
Oh, yeah, she had a birthday last week.
She
Happy birthday
did.
to Gabby.
Thank you. She had a blast. But no, I'm with him. Like, if there's no one working and you have the whole road blocked off, that's more hazardous than anything else in this damn road.
I know. It also has road rage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I just had to throw that out there. I just noticed it on the way in. I was like, what?
It took me 10 extra minutes to get here.
All right. We'll leave early.
No.
All right. All right, folks, we're going to take a commercial break since we have 3 guests today. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Christina Ortiz. Almost said Troy Warren for a minute. We'll be back momentarily with Jenny Brekhus, who's the Reno City Councilwoman.
Hi, this is Annette Levy. Corruption destroys communities. Did you know Nevada was rated the 5th most corrupt state in the nation? I want to change that. I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 20. Let's work together to raise the bar in Nevada. Call me at 702-499-7278 or look me up on my website, electanet.com. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Heidi Hanusa, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. My clients consist of families, children, couples, and individuals that are in need of some assistance dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety, and many other life issues that you can find on my website. I accept most insurances. For additional information, such as location, hours, insurances, and experience, go to my website at Faith Individual and Family Counseling.
We're back, folks. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Christina Ortiz with Veterans in Politics. We have Jenny Brekhus, Reno City Councilwoman. Jenny, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Maybe if you were in Norway, but it's Brekhus over here.
Oh, it's Brekhus over there in Reno.
Yeah, up here. Yeah.
Oh, up there in Reno, where the elevation gives me migraines every time I come back to Vegas after I leave Reno.
Really?
Yeah, how far is the elevation from, what's the difference between Reno elevation and Las Vegas?
We're about 4,500 here in the valley, so I don't know what you're all about. 2,200 or?
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit. That's probably right. So, Councilwoman, do tell us about yourself.
Sure. I've lived in Reno since 1998. My husband and I were living and working in New Mexico, where we met. I'm a Bay Area native, and we more or less picked Reno off the map because we wanted to be where the mountains met the desert, and moved here. And I have a background in city planning. My dad was the mayor of the small town I was growing up in the Bay Area.
What town was that, Councilwoman?
It's a town in Marin County called Ross. It's really not that big of a deal. It's about 3,000 people. My sister is actually on the city council there now. But when I was growing up, they had a big flood and had a lot of issues to deal with, and I followed him around a lot, looking at development on properties, and that got me interested in, how you build and manage and, these interesting things called cities. So when it came time for me to pick a career, I picked one in city planning, and, it's been interesting. And around 2011, when the Great Recession was taking a huge toll on Reno, I just was a little discouraged because I felt like the city had taken on a lot of debt when times were good, and some of that debt was not really reflected in investments that I felt were, the top priorities for our citizens. So I said, I'm going to run. I think I have something to offer. I think I understand cities, and I ran and won in 2012.
So that was your first time you've ever ran for a political seat?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Congrats. Did you, was it vacated? Did you go up against an incumbent?
I was prepared to run against a two-term incumbent who was eligible for another term, and about a week into filing, he decided not to run.
Got scared of you,
all
huh?
Of a sudden,
he got scared of you. Could you say he got scared of me? Say it.
I won't say that because he's turned out to be a very good and strong supporter of mine.
Okay.
But it was a nine-way primary in 2012, and then myself and another individual went up into the general.
And now you're running for re-election.
That's right. Had a three-way primary, and now I'm contesting with someone else in the general.
So why do you want to continue to be a city councilwoman?
Well, I feel like this first term was really two terms, and it coincided more or less with the group that came on in 2014. And I'll say, the play out in term limits is that when myself and three other colleagues, prevail in this election, for myself, we'll all be a new group, and so new leadership at the city of Reno. But the first 2 years was really coming out of the recession and still dealing with that. The city during the deep recession had laid off a third of its workforce, the old council. We were actually contemplating having to lay off even more firefighters around 2013, 2014 budget. So slowly, 2014 comes around, late 2014, and things start looking different. And because we're Nevada, and boom and bust is in our DNA, here we are back again on that growth trajectory, and that's something I'm interested in. I took a class in college on managing growth, how to make sure that as you grow in a way that you're building the city you want, and most important, and this is a theme of my campaign, is we don't leave our old neighborhoods behind.
What are some of the investments you've mentioned that as studying that you felt that some of the investments they made weren't necessarily the best for the city? What are some of the investments that you would like to see made in the city?
Sure. The two things cities do the most are your public safety services and then your infrastructure. And I do include park and recreation, particularly parks, because they bring so much quality of life to our residents as infrastructure. We have a neat pool here that has served this community since about the 40s. It's a hot spring-fed pool, and it was allowed to just fall apart. It had, 3 generations of people had used that pool, and it had just fallen apart and slowly closed down. And that was a sore spot for me. At the same time, the city, through some there was a lot of interesting financial dealings at all levels going on during that period of time. But the city had floated some bonds for some tourism-related facilities downtown. They had bought what's known as the bowling center from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. They built a new event center, even though our other event center south of town is where most of our investment had been in facilities. And then this other facility called a ballroom. And all of that, those acquisitions and bonds by the city were based upon revenues that were to be projected by those, or revenues that were projected to be paid for the rental and use of those facilities, in addition to some room tax. Well, those never materialized, but the city council at the time backed those with our sales tax. And so they used this interesting bond instrument that is not that common around the country. Nevada has it, and they backed the sales tax onto it. And so it's been taking off as high as, almost $3 million a year. We've done some debt restructuring. It's about $1.5 million a year just to pay for the bond service on the construction and acquisition of these facilities. And just under comparison purposes, that's general revenue fund that could go right into our parks budget's about $16 million. So $1.5 million, $2 million, that's close to $2 million would be maybe 15 police officers on the beat, and we're still down police and fire. So those sort of investments. There we also got into a very complex investment on a refi, which is, I won't bore you on the details, but it's our train trench project that sunk the train tracks through downtown. It was a project, the most expensive regional project at its time, but then they rolled that in on some kind of mortgaged it, and the sales tax that is associated with that goes out 70 years. There's really a hindrance of future options for even the city on that sales tax or the region, because that could be reallocated to other purposes like our school capital needs. So we have a debt hangover from the Great Recession, but it's really about just moving forward in these new times.
And how do you plan on moving forward?
Well, what we are doing is, we're under a major multi-year planning effort, and that is our master plan for the city. And so, in particular, what we're looking at is we have had discussions. About 6,000 residents participated in clarifying what the community values are, and a lot. There we have about 8 or 9 guiding principles. One of them, generally appreciated by most people, is that Reno's just a great location and base to enjoy our great, spectacular, natural, environmental setting, whether it's out in the deserts or up in the mountains or Tahoe, or even just the beautiful setting of our valley. So that's one. The other one is maintain our existing neighborhoods, make those safe, comfortable. So as we move forward and think about new growth and how we're going to invest future public dollars, that's sort of the basis for moving forward. I'll just give you an example. We're experiencing a lot of growth demand, new housing types, new housing product. But as we grow, we're going to have to make conscious decisions at the city level where we're going to invest infrastructure to facilitate that growth and make sure that the growth that occurs is that which reflects our projected needs. During the 2000 to 2014 period, about 72% of all homes that were constructed were your typical detached single-family homes. We're seeing that product type is going to have to blend about 50% with more compact, smaller yard, multifamily sort of products. So that has different implications on how we invest our public dollars, both sewer, water, and transportation dollars. So it's exciting because we're really thinking about a way to not be so developer-driven, be public policy-driven, because the investment that we put into these services and infrastructure come with a big price tag to the city.
Hey, Jenny. This is Jim Jonas. I know this isn't an issue with you guys up there, well, yet, anyway. But I don't know if in the news you heard about the new stadium that they're building out here for the Raiders to move to Las Vegas.
I've heard about that. Actually, someone asked me about that at the door the other day.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. What is just your overall take on spending public dollars to build stadiums?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're aware, but we have a baseball stadium here.
Yeah.
And it was a public-private partnership that was put into place. It's part of that debt that the city has, and it did not materialize the revenues and the projections it was presumed to. And right before I came onto office in 2012, the baseball team owner had asked the old council for a restructuring of the agreement with some support payments. The support payments, when they kick in, will be about $800,000 a year of general revenue funds from the city. And if we don't go with that, and that's over 30 years, and if we don't go with that, there's all these scenarios that play out that are very averse. So it's going to be a tough one to deny as we go forward. But here's my general thinking in these sort of economic development ideas is Nevada sells itself on a low tax environment. And so I don't see a lot of room for government to bring in money into other people's private businesses. We just don't have a lot that we're bringing in to meet our needs. And another thing is, I feel like this economic development game of these partnerships is taking taxpayer money from one group and putting it over to another group. And I do, how do you pick those winners and losers? So I've not been a supporter of those. I know it's an issue to work on down there. I don't really know the implications to the state budget, but just from a philosophical perspective, I have a hard time with that. We've had those catalyst funds come through the city that are also economic development, which pass through state money to a business. And I have consistently voted against those. I love the businesses that are coming. I welcome them, but just have a philosophical problem with taking, taxpayer money and putting that into other people's businesses.
And one of the I had a city councilman, one of our city councilmen, Bob Beers. He tried to explain it a little bit to me, but if you've ever run into Bob Beers, he's way smarter than I am. And besides being a city councilman, he's also a CPA. So do you run in, I guess, basically what they tried to do is they knew that the people weren't going to go for a tax increase. But what they wanted, what they did was they raised room taxes, which are going to supposedly to try to generate $700 million, and then that would go into revenue bonds. But they don't think that it's going to actually raise the $700 million, so they're going to take whatever they do raise in the revenue bonds, they'll use those first, and then the rest is going to have to come out of general obligation, the general obligation bonds. So
yeah.
That I don't understand. Like, I don't know if you guys had anything similar as far as, like, it just seems like when they want to do these projects, they always try to pass it off on to the tourists. It seems like they're always going to go for, like room tax increases and things of that nature. But why would you do anything to try to hurt or even damper tourism at all? Because whether we like it or not, that is our main revenue source.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're talking about two things here. Is there is this thinking, I think, this concept in Nevada, well, let's tax the other guy, and the other guy is someone who's coming here, and
right.
and staying in our nights, staying nights here, and that's done around the country. But there's a lot of broad discretion on how that money is earmarked. and I think down in Vegas it's earmarked for schools. Up here, some of it flows through to us for our parks budget, and but that's not to say it couldn't go for other purposes. So, it's really a broad. I think that those sort of taxes need to be on the table to meet needs, just like sales tax or property tax, because they are a source of revenue from a large sector of our economy. But the other issue, which, and I'll be honest, I'm aware of what you have going on down there, just because they're talking about a special session for it.
Right.
So it's been in the news up here.
Yeah.
But if what you're explaining, and I think I've just, I don't think I've met Mr. Beers, but I know of him, is if they're talking about these revenue bonds off the room tax, they'll float them, but they'll back them with the general obligation, which is the credit and the backing source of their general general obligation, whether it's, your sales tax base or your property tax. That is not good, because that's what happened with us with these 3 facilities downtown. When those revenue sources did not come in, room tax took a dive, and so on, and some of the other property tax, I think there was a property tax pledge on that. Yeah. We've had to come right out general fund. So I don't know who would be having to bring in the general fund, if it's Las Vegas or Clark County, but boy, I would think 2, 3, 4 times like that. I almost wanted to see our charter say that we will never use these instruments and put a statutory authority against them. And I think if I was in one of the people down in Carson City, I would look very strongly at these and say, I don't know if these are right for Nevada. I want to check these out and see how many states have these backing instruments. It's complex.
Yeah, it sounded like it, because I just put a general thing out on Facebook, and then I got a text from Beers, and he's like, well, and he starts going into the CPA language, and I'm like, So he gave me as much information as he could, but I appreciate you kind of clearing that up a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people, and just real quick too, I wanted to really thank you for being on a city council, because I get people ask me all the time if they're going to get involved in politics, what should be the first office they run for, and I always say city council, because I just don't think people realize at how much city council the city council affects them. It's a much more directly linked governing body than a lot of your federal offices. So I just want to thank you in general for being on a city council, because I think it's, number one, I think it's one of the more complicated things that government positions in government, and also I think it's probably the most important because it's the closest to the people. So I just want to throw that out there, that I really have a lot of respect for city councilmen and women.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I have a long background in it. I'm absolutely enthusiastic and passionate about cities and the complexity of them, and the, like you said, the direct interaction with our community. It's our spaces, and so I get a lot of enthusiasm thinking and talking about all the ingredients that go together to make cities and neighborhoods workable places, and the basis for our economic activity too.
Councilwoman, we're running out of time, but real quick, could you tell us the makeup of the council? How many people sit on that council, and do you run at large, or do you run it in a particular ward or district?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question also. We have an interesting setup here, and I think maybe one of your cities does it down there, but I'm not sure. So there are 7 members on the city council. 5 of us represent wards, so we have 5 wards, and we all run in the primary in the ward, and then in the general, we all go citywide. So I'm out talking to voters in different parts of town a lot of the time outside of the ward, and they sometimes look at me confused. And a fortunate thing with that is it really brings up the cost to run and get a seat on the city council, because you have a lot of more voters to talk to, a lot more signs to put out. You have to message citywide, and when you do that, you bring more money into your local government and politics. And so I've always had a problem with it, and I think it pulls us further away from our our neighborhoods, which should be the power base of local government activity. So anyway, we have that's the scenario for those 5 seats. We have a 6th seat that is called the at-large seat, and that one's kind of an interesting one too, because who are their constituents. And then we have a mayor, and it's a weak form of mayor government. She's a member of the council just like us.
Council, let me stop you right there. So you have 7 members on the city council,
including the mayor. That's correct.
Right, and you have 5 people that represents a ward but have to run at large.
Yes.
Right? And then you have a 6th person that has to run at large, period. So I don't even know what the difference is. What do they represent? They represent the other 5 or what?
Myself and some of the other people look at that seat and say, well, who's calling him about the...
Yeah, who are you? You don't represent anybody. You're not the mayor.
Duties.
You're not the mayor. You don't represent a ward. What's your function?
You get a hang.
Okay. Well, Councilwoman, thank you so much for being on the show. What would you like the voters to know? And tell us what you like the voters to know, why they should vote for you to come back into the city council, and your point of contact, please.
Oh, okay. Well, it's Jenny Brekhus at gmail.com, and that's JennyBrekhus at gmail.com. I think Reno, in the reset to the Great Recession, we're really tied to that Northern California economy that's doing very well, and we're seeing a lot of economic benefits from that, and primarily because we still have that housing affordability edge. And so we have a chance, almost a once-in-a-generation chance, to diversify our economy and be more resilient. But a lot of that is those decisions of economic activity are place-based. The new economy is a place where people want to live and want to be in a community, in a city, and we've got a lot of ground to catch up to maintain this great quality of life as we grow. And cities are complex, and I've been focused on my own cities my entire professional career, and I'm the person to help us, lead into that future that we want for our community. And that's kind of my pitch for myself. But I also want to thank you for your pitch for the importance of local government, because I am passionate about it, and it does impact everyone the moment they leave their house, or if they have a problem like a fire or a police need at their house too.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman Brekhus, and also congratulations to receiving the endorsement from Veterans in Politics. So, folks, that's Jenny from the block Brekhus. Could I use that? That's kind of a ring to it. Jenny from the block Brekhus, who's the Reno City Councilwoman, and we would like to make sure that all Veterans in Politics members up in Northern Nevada know that you've been endorsed, and for them to go to the polls and put you right back in office, Councilwoman Brekhus.
Thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you.
That's Jenny from the block Brekhus, Reno City Councilwoman. Don't go away, folks. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas, Christina Ortiz with Veterans in Politics. We're going to have Chris Carver, a candidate for Carson City Mayor.
Hi, this is Annette Levy. Corruption destroys communities. Did you know Nevada was rated the 5th most corrupt state in the nation? I want to change that. I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 20. Let's work together to raise the bar in Nevada. Call me at 702-499-7278 or look me up on my website, electanet.com. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Heidi Hanusa, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. My clients consist of families, children, couples, and individuals that are in need of some assistance dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety, and many other life issues that you can find on my website. I accept most insurances. For additional information, such as location, hours, insurances, and experience, go to my website at Faith Individual and Family Counseling.
Folks, we are back. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas.
Jim Jonas stepped out on us, so
Christina Ortiz with Veterans in Politics. We have Chris Carver, who's a candidate for Carson City Mayor, and I'm assuming he's calling from Carson City. Mr. Carver, are you there?
I am. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Well, sir, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a 24-year veteran of the Army.
Oh,
and
thank
I
you
did
for your
10 years in
service.
federal service, the last 2 with Department of Homeland Security as the state intelligence advisor from the federal government to the state's Homeland Security efforts. Retired in 2012 and wanted to live a quiet, retired life, but politics is dragging me forward because I think that the voters are not being listened to here in Carson City, and it's time for a change.
Well, Mr. Carver, I'd like to say thank you for your service. We really appreciate that. What's the population of Carson City, and why the heck are you running for mayor of that little city?
Well, we're 54,000, and why the heck am I running? That's a good question. I ask myself that almost daily. This is, by almost every definition, a very small town with rural qualities, but it has a great heart, and it has a great quality of living. But I'm running specifically because the cost of living is going up 10% every year. Our tax revenues are roughly 4% increased every year, and we still don't have money to cover basic needs like water, sewer, roads, public safety, and health.
Let me ask you a quick question. Every legislative session, does your traffic citations go up, and does the finances go up over there with all the legislators showing up?
I don't know about traffic citations. Definitely the restaurants do a lot better every 2 years, and I'm sure when they do have special sessions up here in Carson City as opposed to Las Vegas, most of the retailers are happy, but I couldn't speak to the citations. We have our own issues that don't involve ticketing legislators.
Go ahead, Jim.
So I first want to thank you for coming on. What is the biggest issue that you are hearing from your constituents up there?
Well, there's actually 2, and they're related. The first one is the lack of recognition for public intent or the voters' intent. In 2010, we had a ballot issue on redoing the downtown to provide more visual appeal. It was soundly rejected by the voters. And then in 2014, 2 supervisors decided they were going to do it anyway, raised the sales tax without voters' approval, and then imposed the Complete Streets project that's roughly in the neighborhood of $27 million for what we have now, plus another $7.5 million for South Carson Street. All of this without voter approval, and I think that was wrong. But combined with that is that we have a variety of funding mechanisms to fix our neighborhood roads. And if you've been up here and driven around, there's not a neighborhood in Carson City that doesn't need new road or need repaired to their roads or need sidewalks. The only street that's pristine at this point is Carson Street, where in front of downtown, where they've spent $11 million to basically provide a facelift.
Yeah, because that's in front of the
opposed to the spending
state
of the
capitol.
money. What I'm opposed to is that the taxpayers were not consulted first and didn't vote on it.
That's in front of the state capitol, correct? Where the governor hangs out.
Correct.
Do you get along with the governor over there, Mr. Carver?
I do, and I wouldn't say recently. He probably couldn't pick me out of a lineup today, but when I was the advisor to the state Homeland Security effort, I was also responsible for providing classified intelligence estimates for him for different things that he needed to get done. So we've worked together. I've worked for him. I don't want to say we worked together. We're certainly not peers. On several occasions, and I don't think that he was disappointed in my service, but I haven't talked to him in regards to being the mayor.
Right.
It's a different ball game, and as I'm sure you know, military and federal employees, especially those involved in national security, are not involved in local and domestic politics.
Well, before I have Christina say something to you, I have a question about the governor's mansion. How much property tax does the city of Carson City generate from the governor's mansion?
No, I would say not. It's state property, so it doesn't.
Oh, so you don't get any property tax for it being in the city of Carson?
No. No state property pays. There's probably an offset of some kind that we receive some compensation. Okay. I know that that's true for federal office property, but I don't know of any state property that pays tax. In fact, they're excluded from most maintenance agreements that are levied on private property.
Go ahead, Christina.
So, what is the biggest quality that you think that you bring to being mayor of Carson City?
I'm energetic, I'm young, I'm a problem solver. My career in the military was primarily in special operations and law enforcement. I've been all over the world. I've worked with some of the greatest minds in national security policy. I know how to get things done, and that's what we need. Is we need somebody that recognizes that there are issues that need to be resolved, and the solution to everything is not to tax it and spend more money on it.
What is the
So I'm bringing a conservative set of values. I also bring a business first, or mission first, if you will, attitude, and it's what we need. We have to break this. If you weren't born in Carson City, you're not capable of running the government. We wouldn't be in a place where a significant portion of our population is extremely upset about the path of our government if the hometown boys were doing what our people need done.
What do you think the biggest issue that that presents it that you can tackle as the mayor?
Well, whether I'll be able to resolve it or not is a huge question. We have a huge problem with our water and sewer problem. We don't own our own destiny when it comes to water service. The domestic water quality in Carson City is heavy in arsenic and another toxic mineral. So we have to get a blend, and we get that from Douglas County through the city of Minden. And so we've had an increase in water rates for the flat rate for domestic use for non-commercial property and residential property that equates to roughly 52% for single-family homes and 79% increase for multifamily residential. But Douglas County recently decided that they needed to raise the rate for the quality, or for the water that we need to improve the quality of our own domestic drinking water, and it adds another increase to our rate. And taxpayers all over the city, and even those that don't pay taxes, that are just residents here, are just beside themselves with the cost of water. And nobody can explain to us what the strategic plan is. Where are we going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years with our water supply? We keep being told there's plenty of water, and I agree. We could have all the water we want. We could have pure glacier water piped in from Alaska, but can we afford it? And the answer to that question universally is no, not without more rate increases.
So then
I think that's the number one issue. It affects quality of life. It affects the way our government works. It affects our relationship with other counties, and it is the number one issue.
So then how do you guys become in the process of owning your water and doing that for yourself, if that's your biggest issue?
I didn't hear the last part of your question.
How do you guys become able to own your own water, and in the process of owning your own water, if that's your biggest issue?
I don't think that we can ever get to the point of self-sufficiency. In early 2000, there was a determination made not to build a water treatment plant to meet EPA guidelines, and instead rely on this thing called the intertie, which moves the water from Douglas County to here and basically dilutes what we have and makes it safe to drink. But what we do need, what is fixable, and what I intend to do, is to look at a 20-year strategy that involves a series of agreements that are beneficial to our city. We paid for the pipeline from Douglas County. We pay for the operation of those employees. We pay for those jobs. And it is essentially our water. It just happens to be in another part of the state rather than in Carson City. So we need an effective legal agreement, and unfortunately this has been the bane of existence in Carson City, that we have flawed legal agreements, soup to nuts, with everybody that we make a contract with. And it's because I think that we have some very good city employees, and we have some that don't look at taxpayers' money as a precious resource that has to be protected. They just write a check. And that attitude has to change, and I don't think it's a monumental change. I think it's It's an incremental thing, but it requires good leadership, and we don't have that right now.
You know, Mr. Carver, it's surprising that you have a water problem when you have Lake Tahoe right there.
And that doesn't belong to us.
You have a whole lot of snow up there in northern.
Well, and the
Nevada.
snowpack's good. It is a significant portion of our water, but it's not all of it. And we just heard from the state water engineer a couple of weeks ago that almost every water source in the state is over-obligated, meaning that if all the water rights were exercised, that we wouldn't have enough to meet demand. And there's a huge difference between having a water right and actually having water come out of your faucet. And for those here in Carson City that are on fixed incomes or lower income brackets, raising water rates is necessary in order to provide water for the entire city. But when I talk to retired folks or folks that are working 2 jobs to make ends meet, they can't afford a $40 or $50 water and sewer bill increase over the next 5 years.
Right. Well, Mr. Carver, we're running out of time, but I would like for you to let the listeners know why you feel that you need to take out the incumbent and your point of contact.
Why do I need to take out? We need to take out the incumbent. It's time for a change. We've had 7.5 years of bad policy, bad agreements, bad contracts, and basically disrespecting the intent and will of our voters. So if we want a better Carson City, we need new leadership that's focused on results, and I'm that guy. I can get it done. And my contact information, my phone number is 775-720-6423. I'm also at www.chriscarverformayor.org.
Well, Mr. Carver, I'd like to congratulate you for receiving the endorsement of Veterans in Politics. And thank you so much for your service. That's Chris Carver, candidate for Carson City Mayor. And we would like all the Veterans in Politics members up in northern Nevada, particularly in Carson City, to go to the polls and let their family and friends know to put Chris Carver in office. We'll be right back, folks. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Christina Ortiz. We'll be right back with Rhiannon Gladney, co-founder of You Lucky Puppy.
Hi, this is Annette Levy. Corruption destroys communities. Did you know Nevada was rated the 5th most corrupt state in the nation? I want to change that. I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 20. Let's work together to raise the bar in Nevada. Call me at 702-499-7278 or look me up on my website, electanet.com. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Heidi Hanusa, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. My clients consist of families, children, couples, and individuals that are in need of some assistance dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety, and many other life issues that you can find on my website. I accept most insurances. For additional information, such as location, hours, insurances, and experience, go to my website at Faith Individual and Family Counseling.
We are back, and Christina is running her suck, and she didn't get the big thumbs up from John Stiles. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Christina Ortiz with Veterans in Politics. We are with Rhiannon Gladney, who's the co-founder of You Lucky Puppy. Almost said You Lucky Dog.
Close enough, right?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Tell us about you.
Okay, well, I just recently graduated from UNLV.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Did you pay your student loan?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting there. It's
All right.
next.
All right. All right.
And right out of school, I decided to start a company. I just decided to go big or go home, right?
Isn't there a commercial? Taco Bell, go big or go home?
Probably.
Or did you have that patent? Because, they could probably sue you for that. I'm messing with you. Go ahead.
I'll keep that in mind
Just
next
ignore
time.
You do it too.
Go ahead.
But You Lucky Puppy, it was my best friend and I decided to start it.
Who's your best friend?
Sarah Betancourt.
Okay.
And it originally was supposed to be a very small, Etsy shop type deal. So we were going to do dog scarves and dog bandanas, little dog bow ties.
Wow.
Super
Dress them up.
Exactly.
Super
It's
cool.
like your happy dog apparel,
Right.
with costumes for the holidays and stuff like that.
Right.
And then we kind of got this idea of, we could do a dog vending machine for dog parks. So it would vend tennis balls of various sizes and dog treats.
In a machine.
In a machine,
And
yes.
you put your money in there and you press the A5 and it drops down whatever you.
Roughly, and that was
Okay.
the original idea. And then we decided to make it more exciting than like a normal vending machine. We
Wait,
decided-
talks to you?
Well, it has little games and it's interactive, and we made it a touch screen, and it was a lot more fun and a lot more lively.
Right.
But then you kind of ran into the issue of if you have this in a park without supervision,
Vandalism.
this is gonna
Jim Jonas' friends, he'll probably
Yeah.
try to take it, throw him back of his truck.
it's gonna end badly, roughly, very badly.
Right.
And then we kind of went like, okay, we can make it like a safe, and then it looked
Bolted down to the soil,
yeah,
to the grass,
roughly.
tied around a tree. Okay.
And by the end of it, it just became like this huge monstrosity. It was ugly. It was
Monstrosity.
expensive. It
Look
was
that
just,
word up for me, Jim.
It just wasn't. It wasn't a good thing. So we're like, oh well, we could do the vending machine for events, and we kind of started doing pet events. And that ended up being the best thing that we did. So we just did an event at the Lazy Dog a couple weeks back.
Everybody goes there now.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
they have such cute puppies.
They're opening one up in Town Square.
Yes.
Cute puppies.
But we did a dog treat tasting competition.
Did
So-
you invite me and Jim and Christina?
I believe I did.
Really?
I
We're
didn't
having
get
another one October 26th if you'd like to come.
Oh,
It'll be
okay.
Halloween themed.
All
So
right.
all the bakeries will be competing for the best Halloween dog treat.
I have
Okay.
a husky.
Please bring the husky.
I'll bring
I
the
love
husky.
huskies. Their eyes.
Yeah, she has this. We have matching eyes.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
Anyways, but
Go
she's
ahead.
really cool.
So we decided to do dog events, and this dog treat tasting ended up being the best thing we ever did. And it was the first time that we actually made a decent amount of money with You Lucky Puppy in the few months we've been open. Granted, we've only been open a few months, so
Hold on just a second. Christine, you know that has a stand. You don't have to hold it.
Oh, I know, but it gives me something to do.
more fun that
you
way.
want something to do with your hands or something?
That's what I was
Play
looking
with
for,
Rihanna's hair.
essentially.
Because
But then we never finished the interview.
we're hearing you move that microphone around.
Oh,
Go
you're
ahead.
hearing
Go
it.
ahead, Rihanna.
Well, from the pet entertainment, we decided we're just going to focus on entertainment because that's what
Right.
people like. People like being entertained, having something to do with their dog more than they like buying stuff for their dog, extra stuff for their dog.
Do
Oh
you
no, I
do
like
you
buying stuff for my dog too.
do you own a dog?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What's your dog's name?
Max.
What kind of dog is it?
Cool.
Corgi.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
Well, we wanted small enough that it'd be happy in an apartment, but big enough you could take him hiking without having to carry him.
He's not a service dog, right?
No.
Okay.
That requires a lot of training that we haven't done yet.
Right,
I'm
alright.
not counting it out, but
Right. Okay.
but we decided actually from how well all the pet events have been going, we actually just did an event last night. It was a dog obstacle course event. So we set up at Parkside Villas, an apartment complex across town, and we just set up a bunch of obstacles for owners to go along with their dogs and give them treats and
Right.
everything else. So from that and how well that's been going, we decided our ultimate goal now is to open a dog cafe.
Wow.
So half of it will be a play area for your dog. So there'll be like a tennis ball machine constantly throwing tennis balls, little obstacles to play on, plenty of room to run around, plenty of place to socialize and get their exercise
So-
in. And the other side will be for you. So you can drink your coffee or something stronger while you work or socialize and play. And your dog's having the time of their life meanwhile.
What is going on with folks got to bring their dogs everywhere? The dog's supposed to stay in the house and guard
Dog
it.
goes places.
Dog goes places.
Dog goes places. So you know what this reminds me of, and you're gonna have to go with me. I have a 5-year-old,
Okay.
so I watch kid shows all day. Have
Yes.
you ever seen Littlest Pet Shop?
No, I have not.
That's what it reminds me of, and it's doggy daycare in the cafe, and it's the cutest thing ever. And I actually think that's a wonderful idea.
I'm going to have to check that out. It's
Oh.
called Littlest Pet Shop.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
Hello, we all are here. Was that a question or what?
No, I mean it was because we were talking about it, but it really does. It's a cafe, and it's really interactive with owners, and people like their animals. I would take my cat and
Look,
dog.
I get a dog. It's called a guard dog. That means when I'm not home, the dog is there making sure bad people don't come in my house.
Do you take your dog to the dog park?
Did you hear what I just said? When I leave the house, the dog
do you
stays.
ever take him to the dog park?
It's a guard dog.
Steve doesn't
Ever?
Guard the house. I got a backyard.
So
It's so
Hey,
sad.
so
He doesn't get to see the world.
Here's the one. Here's the okay. My main question for you is, number one, what gave you the motivation to want to start your own business right out of college? Because I think that's one of the things that that frustrates me in general.
She thinks her name is Facebook guy. What's that guy's name?
Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
Mark
right out of
Zuckerberg.
college. I think he dropped out.
He dropped out. Yeah.
But what I
Didn't
think,
make through.
but so many
But
people,
he's not
so many
supposed to.
people are like really, really truly afraid to start businesses. They don't know how. So, who was it that kind of helped you get the business started? Not just the idea, but there's a lot of financial stuff that's involved. Did you have somebody help you with that, or did you and your friend just couldn't figure it out on your own, or?
Right now, we're roughly bootstrapping.
Right.
So, I mean, I was working as a personal assistant to a CEO prior to this.
Yeah.
So I was doing that while I was in school. And she was the one that really made me want to start my own business because I realized just the freedom that comes with that. And I realized that's really what I wanted
Freedom? You work 7 days a week when you start your own business.
Yes, I mean, like the
Ask John
hours,
Stiles, he'll tell you.
But it's something.
the hours are horrible, yes, but it's
yours.
yours.
Yeah.
And there's something really beautiful about that. Like when I barely sleep anymore and I feel like I constantly have something on my schedule, but it's mine and I made that schedule.
Right.
And there's something really great about
So
that.
you take ownership.
Yes.
I got you.
But as for the financial side, my family has been helping me out a lot, so I have had that. But I am very not lucrative at the current moment. It's like that. Like first you're starting out, things are bad.
So what are you trying to accomplish with this thing? What are you trying to? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to make money, or it's just the love of dogs going out and having fun with the owners?
So it's going to be three things. So obviously I would like to make this my career. But we do a charity of the month every month that we highlight a special charity. It can be a rescue. It can be somebody trying to raise money for their vet bills. It can be like even the Humane Society. Right now we're actually sponsoring Forgotten Friends, and they're wonderful. They do adoption events at Petco or PetSmart all the time.
Right.
But right now we're just doing social media campaigns for them to spread awareness as much as we can and get more people out to their events. And we do that every month of, okay, this is this charity, how can we help you as best we can? But once we get profitable, we want to donate 10% of our monthly profits to that charity of the month.
How old are you, may I ask?
24.
Okay, that usually people that age don't. They're more self-absorbed than anything else. They don't want to. They're just thinking about me. So that's good that your mindset is expanded to others.
Either that,
Thank
or
you.
the second they get out of college, they won't take a job unless it's $100,000 a year, even if they're not qualified for it. That's another thing that a lot
Is
of
that
college
a
kids do.
stereotype?
Yeah, well, I know quite a few that are like that. No, we're bragging on you. We're saying you're not the norm.
Yeah, you're not the norm.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So what made you really wanted to get into this, especially that field? Did you see abused animals and your heart touched on that area, or what?
Yes and no. So I started off my college career wanting to be a veterinarian. So I did a bunch of animal service. So I was volunteering at the Gilcrease Animal Shelter. I did vet shadowing, and that I feel so bad for vets. The things they go through that people don't realize.
Right.
And there's so many times where people can't afford the vet bills, and you just have to euthanize their pet and watch them just bawl, and there's nothing you can do.
Right.
It's rough. And after a while, I realized that I wanted to do business, so I switched my major over, but I never really got over
Switch it over to what?
I did economics. I got
From
my-
what?
Biology.
Okay.
So I was doing pre-med.
Oh, you was doing pre-med.
I was doing, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you went from pre-med to...
Well, pre-vet, but it was
okay,
technically
so for
pre-med.
veterinarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when I switched over, that love of animals kind of stuck with me, of course.
Right.
It doesn't really go away. And my best friend, she loves her dogs. She
Right.
spoils.
How many dogs does your best friend have?
She only has 2, but she might as well have 6. Like she has to have a sitter for them. They can't be left alone.
Right.
There's like a monthly stipend of how much toys she can buy.
A sitter for her dogs.
Yes. She has a sitter. Yes.
For an overnight stay.
No, just when she goes to work.
A sitter for her dog when she goes to work.
Yes.
In an 8-hour stay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Rihanna, right?
Yeah, Rhiannon. It's
Rhiannon.
a Fleetwood Mac song.
Fleetwood Mac song.
Yes.
Okay. Gladney, right?
Yes.
Could you give us your point of contact, and could you let us know when your next event is and where it's going to be?
Okay, yes. YouLuckyPuppy.com. You can find all of our dog apparel and when our next events are. Our next event will be October 26th at the Lazy Dog at downtown Summerlin. Halloween dog treat tasting, and my point of contact is Gladney, so RHIGLADNEY @gmail.com.
Do you have a website that people could go and buy this apparel?
YouLuckyPuppy.com.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's Rhiannon Gladney, who is the co-founder of You Lucky Puppy. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas, and Christina Ortiz with Veterans in Politics. Until next week.